Hello, everybody. I'm Parsha Becky, and we are back for another week of Parsha. As I'm sure you recall, we are continuing in the first book of Chumash, the book of Bereishit. Bereishit means at the start, and we are at the start of the Torah. We are at the start of the world, and we are at the start of our story. This week's Parsha is called Lech-Lecha, which means you should go. And the Parsha picks up with Hashem saying to Avram, remember our friend Avram? We met him at the very, very, very end of last week's Parsha, and we're going to get to know him better. Now Hashem says to Avram, Lech-Lecha, you should go away from your home, away from where you live, away from your home and native land. Where are you going to go? I'm not telling. You'll just go, and Hashem says, I'll show you when you get there. I'll show you where you're going when you get there. And if you do this, you will be blessed. I'll give you lots of nice things. I will bless everyone who's nice to you. So, win-win. Everyone will be nice. And Avram is 75 years old. Good age for a midlife crisis. Time to pick up and start a new life. And he takes his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot and all their stuff. And he goes, as Hashem says, keeps going in the direction till Hashem says stop. And they get to a country known as Canaan, which we now know as the land of Israel. And when he gets to Canaan, Hashem says, hey, Avram, I promise this land is going to be for you and for your children, for your family forever. And he's like, thanks, that sounds great. He prays to Hashem there. He travels a bit in the land. But then there is a famine. There is no food. So since they like to have food to eat, Avram and his family move down to Egypt where there's food. And on the way to Egypt, Avram turns to his wife Sarai and he's like, hey, Sarai, I just noticed you're really, really pretty. And I'm just kind of worried that if the Egyptians also notice that you're pretty, they will want to marry you and they will be jealous that I'm already married to you. And I'm kind of scared that they will murder me in order to marry you because they can't marry you while I'm married to you. So since I enjoy not being murdered, can you please do me a favor, Avram says, and let's just lie to everybody and we'll say that we're brother and sister. Because if they think I'm your brother, they won't have any reason to hurt me for being married to you. And Sarai's like, yeah, sure, that sounds like a fun prank to play. I'll do it. So they go into Egypt and they're like, oh yes, we are brother and sister. That's how we know each other. And everyone's like, yeah, sounds legit. I'm sure you're just brother and sister. And Pharaoh sees that she's super pretty. He's like, oh yeah, I want to marry her. And he gives lots of expensive presents to Avram, like, hey, Avram, I'm going to give you these presents in the hopes that you will like them and will convince your sister Sarai to marry me. And then Pharaoh's getting all ready to marry Sarai, and God doesn't like this because God knows she's already married. So God gives Pharaoh some plagues in Egypt. Who'd have thought? Different plagues, not those plagues, not the famous ones. Anyway, just some run-of-the-mill plagues. Pharaoh gets the plagues. He figures out that he's being punished for marrying someone who's already married. And Pharaoh says, hey, Avram, what's the big idea? You said she's your sister. I don't like that you lied to me. So I'd like you and your wife to get out of my country and don't come back. So Avram and Sarai and Lot pack up and head back to Canaan. There's food there now. Don't worry. And they go back to where they come up from the south because Egypt is south of Israel. They come up into the south of Canaan and they move back on up to where they lived before. And at this point in time, they've got lots of stuff. Avram's very rich. Lot is very rich. They both have lots of animals. And this is a problem because the people watching their animals are getting in each other's way. And they're like, hey, that was my spot. No, that was my spot. We were here first. We were here first. You're in my way. Get out of my way. And they are fighting and fighting and fighting. And it's not good. So Avram goes to Lot and he says, Lot, this land ain't big enough for the two of us. But we're family, and family shouldn't fight. So Avram says, I've got an idea. We will split up. We're still friends, we're still family, we still get along, but we will move further apart from each other so that we can get along better and not be in each other's way. If you want to take the north half of the country, I'll take the south. If you want the south half, I'll take the north. Whatever you want, we'll split up. And Lot's like, yeah, that's a cool idea. I see where you're going with this, but I don't want the north and I don't want the south because over there in the east near the Yarden River, there's a river, the Yarden River, and the river makes lots of grass grow, which is good for sheep. And I want my sheep to have lots of nice grass to eat. So Lot says, I'm going to go over there towards the river. And Lot moves to a city called Stum. Fun fact, the Torah tells us, all the people who live in Stum are really, really bad and evil. Lot's good, but he's moving to this town full of awful people, so that will be fun. Let's just remember that for later. And after Lot moves away, Hashem says to Avram, hey, Avram, remember this entire country that you're in, I'm going to give to you, to your children, forever, enjoy. And then the Parsha completely changes topic. We're going to change scene. We've got a group of 5 kings. This includes the king of Sodom, where Lot lives now. And these 5 kings, even though they are kings, they have to work for this other guy, some other kings, Kedar Laomer and his 3 friends. The 5 kings are working for the 4 kings. And this goes on for 12 years. Even though they're kings, the 5 kings have to work for the 4 kings. And they do not like this. And finally, after 12 years, they're like, you know what? We're kings. We shouldn't have to work for anyone. We're going to show them who's boss. And they start fighting back. And the 4 kings, Kedar Laomer and his buddies, they're like, oh, you want to know who's boss? It's us! And they start winning the fight. And the 5 kings were like, whoa, this was a mistake. We changed our minds. Run away, run away, run away. And they try to run away. But some of them, such as the king of Sodom, fall into holes in the ground and cannot run away because he's stuck in a hole in the ground. So the 4 kings kidnap him, and they kidnap everyone who lived in Sodom and take all their stuff. And they go off with all those people and stuff. And when Avram, this includes Lot, because Lot lives in Sodom. And when Avram hears that his nephew Lot got kidnapped, he's not happy. So he gathers a group of his 300 or so closest friends, and he chases after these guys. And he's chasing after them and chasing and chasing and chasing. They're running all night, and he finally catches up with them, and he fights them, and he wins. And he takes everyone who was kidnapped, and he lets them go home, and he gives them all back their stuff. And everybody's super happy with Avram. In fact, one guy, the king of Shalem, he's like, hey, Avram, I'm going to sponsor a kiddush in your honor. And he gives him some challah and some grape juice and a bracha. He says, hey, Hashem, thanks for being so wonderful. Thanks for being so great to Avram. Thanks for letting Avram help us out. Everything's great. We love Hashem. We love Avram. And the king of Sodom, who Avram just saved, he's like, hey, Avram, I've got an idea. Let's make a deal. You give me all the people that you just saved, and you can keep all their stuff. And Avram's like, no deal. The people belong to themselves. You don't get to have them. They get to go home. And their stuff belongs to them. I'm not taking their stuff, and I'm not taking anything from you. I wouldn't even take a single shoelace from you, Mr. King of Sodom. So Avram goes home, and Hashem says, hey, Avram, check it out. I'm going to protect you, and I'm going to give you lots and lots of presents and rewards. And Avram says, hang on, Hashem. You keep saying you're going to give me all this stuff and you're going to give me this land, but I don't have any kids and I'm super old, so I'm probably never going to have any kids. So what's the point of giving me all this stuff? Who's going to get it after me? And Hashem says, oh, but you're going to have kids. And Hashem says, hey, Avram, come outside for a second. I want to show you something. So Avram goes outside and it's nighttime. And Hashem says, hey, Avram, I want you to look up at the sky, look up at the stars. And everyone looks up at the stars. Hashem says, okay, now count up all the stars and tell me how many there are. And everyone's like, come on, there's too many stars to count and know how many there are. And Hashem's like, oh yeah? Well, just like there's too many stars to count them all, that's how many people there's going to be in your family. Too many to count. And Hashem says, I promise it's going to happen. I'm going to make a deal with you. I want you to get me a 3-year-old cow and a 3-year-old goat and a 3-year-old sheep and a pigeon and a baby bird. And Avram gets all those animals and he cuts up the cow and the goat and the sheep. And Hashem helps Avram fall into a deep, deep sleep. And while Avram's asleep, Hashem says to Avram in a dream, hey, Avram, you should know that your children, their children, they're going to be strangers in another country. And they're going to suffer there. They're going to have to work for the people there for 400 years. But at the end of that time, the end of that 400 years, I'm going to take them out of there. They're going to leave with lots and lots of stuff. I'm going to punish everyone who was mean to them. And I'm going to bring them back here to this country to give it to them for keeps. And you're not going to see any of that. You're going to have a nice, long, happy life here in Israel and Canaan. And Avram wakes up and he sees Hashem makes a magic fire come and cook up all the pieces of meat that Avram cut up. And Hashem again says, hey, Avram, I promise you this country, this land that you're in is going to be for you and for your children and their children forever. Okay, Avram believes Hashem. Great, everything's good. 10 years pass, and Avram still doesn't have a kid. And Avram's wife, Sarai, says, hey, Avram, I've noticed we've been here for a really long time, and we still don't have a kid. And God keeps saying you're supposed to have a kid. So I have an idea. There's someone who works for me. Her name is Hagar. She's from Egypt. how about you marry her also, and maybe you and Hagar will have a kid. So Avram marries Hagar, and Hagar gets pregnant. She's going to have a baby. And she starts to be really rude to Sarai about it. She's like, ha ha, Sarai, I'm having a baby and you're not. I'm better than you are. I'm better than you are. And Sarai does not like this one bit. And Sarai says, hey, Avram, I'm mad at you. You married Hagar. Now she's having a baby and she's being rude to me about it. And I don't like that. So you need to fix this, Avram. And Avram's like, hang on. Hagar works for you. This was your idea. So if she's being rude to you, you can punish her however you want. So Sarai starts to be mean back to Hagar, and Hagar doesn't like that. So she runs away. And Hagar runs away into the desert, and she comes to a well of water, and she meets there an angel, a messenger of Hashem. And the messenger of Hashem says, hey, Hagar, where do you come from? Where do you go? What you doing, Hagar? And Hagar's like, oh, I'm running away from Sarai because she was mean to me. And the angel says, okay, well, go back home to Sarai. It'll be okay. But guess what? Hashem says you're going to have a baby and you're going to name him Yishmael because Shomea, Hashem hears you. The name Yishmael means Hashem hears you. You're going to have this baby, your kid, Yishmael, Hashem hears you. And he's going to be really special. He's going to have lots and lots of descendants. He's going to be a great nation. He's going to be a little bit on the wild side, but his whole family is going to be very close with him. So go home and have your kid. So Hagar goes back home and she has her kid and she names him Yishmael because Hashem hears her. And Yishmael starts to grow up, And one day Hashem says to Avram, Hashem says, hey, Avram, cool news. I'm changing your name. Your name is not Avram anymore. Your name is now Avraham because Avraham means of Hamon, father of a lot of nations. And you are going to be the father of a lot of nations. So let's give you a name to match. Also, Hashem says, I've got a new rule for you also. It's called a Brit Milah or a bris. Every single boy in your family, whether they are born into your family or adopted into your family or converted into your family, once they are 8 days old or older, they must have a Brit Milah. Otherwise, they can't be a part of your family anymore. Also, Hashem says, while I am changing people's names, your wife Sarai, her name's not Sarai anymore. It's Sarah. Why? Because I said so. That's her name now. One more thing, Hashem says, speaking of your wife Sarah, that's her name now. 1 year from now, she's going to have a baby. And Abraham starts to laugh. He says, that's really funny, Hashem. That's a great joke. But okay, but jokes aside, Hashem, Sarah and I are super old. We're too old to have a baby. I'm almost 100. She's almost 90. That's too old for babies. But don't worry, Hashem, we're all good. I've got a kid. Remember, his name's Yishmael. Just take care of Yishmael. And Hashem says, no, I'm serious. Sarah's gonna have a baby. It's not a joke. If you think it's so funny, then you can name him Yitzchak. As Tochek means laughing. But Avram, seriously, you're gonna have Yitzchak. I know about Yishmael. Don't worry. I got my eye on Yishmael. I'm gonna watch over him. Yishmael's future is gonna be great. He's gonna have lots of kids. He's gonna be the father of a wonderful, special nation. But right now, I am talking about Yitzchak. And all the promises that I'm making to you about giving you this land and giving you this special blessing are for Yitzchak. Yishmael's got his own special blessings. The promises I'm making to you follow through with Yitzchak and Yitzchak's children. So remember, he's going to happen. Avram's like, okay, I believe you. And they finish their conversation. And Abraham gives a Brit Milah to himself and his son Yishmael and all the men who have joined his family work for him. And at this point in time, when he gets his Brit Milah, Abraham is 99 years old and Yishmael is 13 years old. And that is the end of Parshat Lech-Lecha.